and then we go to the start at the very beginning. A very good place to start.
أولئك
The start at the very beginning. A very good place to start.
أولئك
Cool. Cool. 3, 2, 1. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Quran in English. My name is Ahmed and I'm happy to take you through the third section of Surah Al-Kahf, which means the chapter of the cave, which is chapter 18 of the Quran, and I'm very excited to carry you through this. Before we begin, I must always explain I'm not an Arabic scholar, nor am I a Quranic linguist. That's not the right words. Arabic linguist and Quranic scholar. Which means I have not studied the Quran. In fact, this is my first read-through of the Quran for a lot of the Quran, but not for this chapter. I've read this chapter twice before today, and with actively read it with asking questions and stuff. But I am merely undergoing a journey to see what I can understand from the Quran, and I'm starting from the Quran. I'm not looking at Hadith. So if you're looking for Hadith, then this is not the right channel for you. At least not now. Maybe in the future I will look into it. Who knows what tomorrow will bring, but I'm starting at the source, and I'm not an Arabic linguist. I've not studied the Arabic language beyond my school education system. You can say what you want about the Bahraini education system, but Arabic was not our instruction, and that's okay. I didn't mean to say that. I love Bahrain. Okay, point being is I'm not an expert on these topics. I'm sharing my education journey with you guys. In the hopes that you might learn something, but primarily so that I can also learn something. So that's why I'm reading and I'm explaining what I understand, because that's a good way, a surefire way to get the information to stick within your head. So for me, this is my learning process, and you're joining it. So I appreciate you joining it for this time. Now, before we get into the specific verses of today, I would like to give a bit of a disclaimer. I've read obviously Surah Al-Kahf before, so I know the parable that we're about to cover. We're going to give an example, and that's an example that's going to be coming up. And when I was first reading it today, I was reviewing it today before I, get on stream. I was like, oh, it's this story, it's an example, and it's very frustrating. And then when I got to the end, I was like, actually, I kind of agree. And there's a lesson to I kind of agree. He said about the Quran as if it's something to be agreed upon. I mean, anyway, the point is, I kind of understood the moral of the story a little bit as I was reading it, and I thought I was gonna be like, oh, why are we having an example in the story? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because sometimes I felt that about studying the Quran when I first looked at it. When I was first, the very first time I kind of discovered it, and when I had my spiritual breakthrough, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna read all the Quran quickly, and I scanned through it. So I was just reading it, but very quickly, not really looking to it. I'm trying to get as much information as I can from the Quran as quickly as possible. And all that stuck in my head was hell, punishment, suffer, do good, go to heaven, believe, go to heaven. And I was like, this is just a repetitive book. It doesn't make much sense. And it made me kind of lose the joy of learning about it. The model that I've adopted recently of taking section by section has really improved my understanding of what the Quran is talking about. Because a lot of people are saying, yeah, every time the context is different. But a lot of the words do repeat, and a lot of the phrases and a lot of the sentiments and a lot of the ideas do repeat, but in slightly different contexts given each section. So if you're looking at it section by section, you're really getting a nice and interesting story. And so there's really long-winded intros, just an explanation of saying that sometimes we can be resistant to studying the Quran because we might think that it is repetitive or not saying something new or interesting, but there's always something to be gained. And I am having fun, and I've made this intro long enough, so let's get straight into it. Before we read the Quran, we always say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and off we go.
واضرب لهم مثل الرجلين جعلنا لأحدهما جنتين من أعناب وحففناهما بنخل وجعلنا بينهما زرعا.
Okay. I actually think this is going to be kind of quick to go through, but let's just see, and let's not make any assumptions. It says, and set forth to them an example. So we're talking about a parable. We're talking now. This sometimes the Quran talks about this happened in the past with Moses, with Jesus, with any of the messengers, and then it says this is an example. And when it says this is an example, we understand it to be a parable. It's a lesson. There's something to be gained from this passage. The example of two men, we made for one of them 2 gardens from grapes, and we bordered them with date palms, and we placed between them a lot of crops. And here it says, give them, O Prophet, but again, which it is talking about the Prophet, because it is telling the Prophet to strike the example for us. But we can also take this parable and strike it as an example to others. So it's not exclusive to the Prophet. And I always have this kind of hesitation with when they add the word prophet when it's not included in the words. And then the other thing that they added is the disbelieving one. We gave one of the 2 men, we provided one of them, the disbeliever, because they're trying to add context for what the story is about to be, which I think it's just wrong. We should stick to what the scripture is saying, and the scripture is saying we gave one of them 2 gardens of grapes, and we bordered them with date palms, and we placed between them crops. Straightforward.
كلتا الجنتين آتت أكلها ولم تظلم منه شيئا وفجرنا خلالهما نهرا.
So the 2 gardens that were given to the man, each of the 2 gardens brought forth its produce, and we did not wrong from anything. We did not. وَلَمْ تَظْلُمْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا. It did not wrong from him anything, or it did not wrong from it شيئًا, because I feel like it was him. Never falling short is the correct understanding of what this is trying to say. Never did him wrong. I think it's never did him wrong, to be honest. وَلَمْ تَظْلِمْ مِنْهُ, from him, شَيْئًا. And it never wronged from him anything. But I guess they're saying the object, the who, at the end of the word is talking about the fruits or the gardens. I would just imagine it's a farmer. But anyway, either way, the point is 2 gardens, prosperous, never faltered. وَفَجَّرْنَا خِلَالَهُمَا نَهْرًا. And we caused to gush within them a river. A river was caused to gush between them. So, gardens, extremely prosperous. And as we said, the river is the symbol of life and water, and it gives fertility, and fertility isn't the right word. Is fertility the word they use for vegetation, for like a healthy garden? It's fertile? Probably. Either way, the river indicates that the gardens are producing a lot of fruits and never doing anything wrong.
وكان له ثمر فقال لصاحبه وهو يحاوره أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا.
And he was for him, and it was for him fruit, which means it also had other resources as well, fruit, produce, very bountiful. So he said to his companion, the other man who didn't have the same things that he had, while he was talking to him, he says, I am greater than you in wealth and stronger in men, which is a very interesting concept. Why would you say you're stronger in men, superior in manpower? But I think the idea is what comes as a result of the prosperous garden is you get wealth, you get manpower, you get to transcribe. And here we see the man committing one of the major sins, if the first major sin stated in the Quran, as in based off time, where Iblis did not bow down to Adam because he thought he was better than him. And arrogance was the first recorded problem, and here we see the problem of arrogance. And this whole parable talks about, do you give credit to yourself or do you give credit to God? Which I think is the main message. But this is what he said. He said, I'm greater than you in wealth and superior in manpower.
ودخل جنته وهو ظالم لنفسه قال ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا.
All right, mistake number 2. And he entered his garden while he was unjust to himself, and he said, I do not think that this will perish ever. So first he was arrogant. Then this is also a form of arrogance, right? It's a form of like, not only am I big and strong, but nothing's going to be able to touch me. And it may remind you of a few people in the world today. You might think of certain nations that claim to be the greatest nations. There are 2 specifically that stand hand to hand, and lo and behold, they're allies. But anyway, second sin, I think that this goodness will last forever. So not only are you giving credit to yourself, but you're also making a claim about the future that you don't know. And it's kind of tied to the first problem. If you think that you are the cause of the prosperity, then you're like, I will always be prosperous. Therefore, it will not stop. But if you understand that the cause of prosperity is God, then saying a claim as it will never cease is impossible, because it will continue until God suggests, until God decides that this will stop or continue. And herein lies the lesson.
وما أظن الساعة قائمة ولئن رددت إلى ربي لأجدن خيرا منها منقلبا.
And here's the third problem and statement. He said, and I do not think the hour will occur, and if I am brought back to my Lord, then surely I will find better than this as a return. So the third step and the highest degree of his arrogance, 1, is he says, I do not think that the hour will occur. So technically it's 4, because there's 2 points in this 1 point. What is the hour? We have mentioned the hour in reference to Judgment Day, in reference to the end of times, in reference to, the coming of the hour means the end of all time. But we have also referenced that the hour sometimes refers to the hour of one's death. And every person has an hour, every person has a term, every nation has a term. And so the hour is akin to the term that you are assigned and the term that you will end. And again, this is kind of the big parable, is that those who are arrogant think that the hour will never come. You know what? I'm living such a good life. And then to the cherry on top of the cake, he says, and if I am returned to my Lord, then I will surely find better than this as a return. An interesting point that was brought up in my discussions outside of the channel, hi Michael, is that some people tell others, you're going to hell. Some people tell others, I'm going to heaven. And this is also a form of arrogance. We have our best understanding from the books. We have the best understanding from the directions that you have to believe and you get into heaven. But we don't know who's going to heaven, who's going to hell. And the Quran constantly tells us God knows better what's in our hearts. And what's in our hearts is more important than what we say, for example. And having the arrogance and the certainty that not only do I have a good life, the hour's not coming, but if the hour comes, I'm going to have something better. Oh, you're speaking on behalf of God, and you're saying, oh, I know how God's going to judge me. I know that I'm a good person. Like, there's like the arrogance keeps going level by level by level, and you kind of see how bad this is perceived. So he's not exactly committing blasphemy, because he's still saying my Lord, but he is committing grave sins of arrogance. And I don't think that the hour is coming is an example of we are the greatest nation on earth. We cannot be stopped. And every single civilization and nation that said this has faltered and disappeared. And there was the Persian Empire, there was the Ottoman Empire, there was the British Empire, there was the Dutch. Dutch wasn't really an empire, was it? There was the Romans. There was the pharaohs. You see it time and time again. Everyone's like, we are unstoppable. There was the Titanic. I don't know why I'm throwing that in there. But that's kind of the main lesson that the Quran is trying to teach us is be humble. Don't think that you're fantastic and amazing and that your poop don't stink. I had to phrase it so that it's YouTube friendly. Even though I'm not targeting kids with this, I can say the word, but I still kind of want to respect it. But that's kind of the main point. The main parable is showing that this man's arrogance reached astronomical heights. Speaking for God when he had no authority, saying that the hour won't come, saying that I am stronger than you, saying, what was the previous one? Yeah, I don't think it'll ever perish, and saying that I'm strong, I'm better than you, and I have more men, and la-di-da-di-da, tooting their own horn. So his friend replies,
قال له صاحبه وهو يحاوره أكفرت بالذي خلقك من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم سواك رجلا.
You see, when I was reading it really quickly, I didn't appreciate the severity of why the companion said what he said, but because I've read it slowly now and I've explained it, it makes a lot more sense. Like, kind of, you're building up the arrogance and you can kind of see the gravity of his situation. Which is what I was referring to in the beginning of the episode, is that sometimes if you scan through the Quran, you don't get the value, but if you like really sit and contemplate, you can kind of get so much. And the longer you contemplate, the more that you get out of the Quran, because it's very powerful. Anyway, he said to him his companion, while he is talking to him, do you disbelieve? And disbelieve isn't the right word. Al-kufr, like, yes, technically the right word is disbelief, but I don't feel like it accurately conveys the word kufr. It's kind of like, have you abandoned your God? Kind of like, it's a weird, it's not just, oh, I don't believe in God, because the companion, his friend, did say, if I go back to my Lord, I'm going to get something good. So it's not like he's not believing in God. That's not the right word and phrase. That's why I struggle with it. But it means, like, have you like really abandoned what it means to believe? Have you really strayed so far from the path? Have you strayed so far from God? So it's a bit more of a nuanced word than disbelief. أكفرت بالذي خلقك? Have you strayed from the one who has created you from dust, then from a quantity of semen, then fashioned you into a man? So here they're explaining that from dust, they're talking about Adam. I feel like they're misunderstanding, because Adam wasn't created from dust. Adam was created from clay and mud. And it was said many times over, which people assume is dust. But I feel like they're missing the point of this explanation. And I like the idea of dust before semen, because semen includes like a biological element that is there. And I feel like dust represents what it would be were it not to be in the biology. Like, I feel like it's more of a transition, and I don't feel like it's a reference to Adam. But that's, I mean, again, we're arguing semantics here, and we won't really know exactly what it means. But I feel like there's a reason why it says from dust, then to quantity of semen, then to a man. Which, by the way, the fact that the Quran was talking about semen 1,450 years ago, long before the microscope, is... And this isn't the word, like, it's not like semen as in the word for semen. It's a minute quantity of semen. Like, it's talking about a sperm cell. It's literally talking about like something that is beyond their understanding of this was what causes pregnancy 1,450 years ago. Like, this is wizardry to those way back when. Yeah, and they made you a man. So his buddy calls him out. Have you strayed so far? To like, really, are you that arrogant that you've kind of, you're speaking for God, you're disbelieving, like it's not disbelief, but you're like straying so far from what God wants us to be, like really, kafart. Fun fact: the word kafir in South African Afrikaans is a terrible slur against black people. Which, interesting, the word kafir in Arabic means disbeliever, but it's not like just disbeliever, someone who like actively rejects religion, you know. Just fun little play on words, that in one country it's a racial slur, in another country it's disbelieving, but in both countries it's pretty bad.
لكن هو الله ربي ولا أشرك بربي أحدا.
So what does he say? He continues saying, but as for me, he is God, my Lord, and I do not associate with my Lord anyone. And this is kind of an important thing, because again, the man that was arrogant was still, saying if God was to take me. But who was he associating with God? He was associating himself with God. He was putting himself at the level of, I'm responsible, it's due to me, it's thanks to me. And even that can be seen as an act of association. Which then brings in the discussion of people who believe that Jesus is God. Is that shirk? A lot of Muslim scholars will tell you that yes, they are associating Jesus with God, and they are literally thinking that he is God, so it is shirk. But I'm not here to pass judgment on heaven and hell, because I don't want to commit the arrogance that this man is committing and saying, I know that I'm going to heaven, or that someone else is going to hell. We can't speak for God on that level. But it does talk about even being that arrogant is a form of association with God. And it doesn't have to be for Jesus. It can also be for yourself. If you think of yourself as being the end-all, be-all, then that is a form of association with God. Yeah. Which is one of the major sins of Islam.
ولولا إذ دخلت جنتك قلت ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله إن ترني أنا أقل منك مالا وولدا.
Yeah, beautiful. And we see another phrase. Last episode we got the words Insha'Allah, which means if God is willing. And here we see a different phrase, which is very important. It says, and if you had only, when you entered your garden, said, MashaAllah, what God wills, La quwwata illa billah, there is no power except with God. And these are two statements that a lot of Muslims say whenever we see someone doing something amazing. We say, MashaAllah, you did great. MashaAllah, you succeeded. MashaAllah, you like. So we always precede a compliment with what God wills to kind of refocus our attention that yes, this is a fantastic thing that you have accomplished. This is a fantastic thing that you're able to do, but this is through the grace of God that you're able to do it. And it's always kind of a humble attitude. And La quwwata illa billah, also just as powerful, but MashaAllah is amazing. La quwwata illa billah, which means there's no power except for God. But MashaAllah is a very powerful thing. And you'll find this funny thing in the Arab world. If you give somebody a compliment, you're like, wow, your car is so nice. They'll like slap you and say MashaAllah, say MashaAllah, say MashaAllah. Give the thanks to God. Don't let it be arrogant, which is a very fun, cute little interaction that happens. So we had Insha'Allah in the last episode and MashaAllah. MashaAllah is the appropriate response whenever you want to say something, give someone a compliment. MashaAllah. Even if you're talking about their beauty, even if you're talking about their attraction, their voice, their whatever. MashaAllah, you have a great voice. MashaAllah, your eyes are beautiful. MashaAllah, you're such a good friend. Yeah, and it's kind of reminding us to be humble at all times. So the friend says, if you had entered your garden and said, MashaAllah or La quwwata illa billah, if only you had entered your garden saying, MashaAllah, La quwwata illa billah. And then he says, even, so here they said, even, it doesn't say the word, if you see me lesser than you in wealth and children. And here we kind of see another kind of lesson that is built in within these verses. Even if you see somebody else struggling, and you see them worse than you, the lesson here is don't rub it in, because you don't know if the arrogance that you're committing, you don't know if the fruits that you have are worse than the person's faith. And we're going to see that comparison in a little bit. So if you see somebody worse than you and you still want to, be proud of what you have, then say, MashaAllah, I have done all these things. MashaAllah, I have all these things. To kind of also not say to the other person, yeah, you suck. You don't have children. You don't have money. You don't have whatever. And it also teaches us about what to value. And we'll see this in a bit more explicit detail in I think a couple of verse or two.
فعسى ربي أن يؤتيني خيرا من جنتك ويرسل عليها حسبانا من السماء فتصبح صعيدا زلقا.
And then he says something that I kind of struggle with, but I kind of get it. He says, perhaps my Lord will give me something better than your garden and will send upon your garden, a calamity from the sky. Here they say a thunderbolt from the sky, but it could be a tornado. It could be any sort of calamity from the sky. So then it'll become a ground that is slippery, which I'm like, look, it's one thing to say, like it's for me, this isn't arrogance, because he is saying perhaps, and the main message of it is you like he's saying you never know when your blessings will be over, and that's the main parable of the story, is that you shouldn't be arrogant. You shouldn't say, oh, I'm so great, I'm so fantastic, because you might get screwed in a couple minutes time, and then it becomes like it doubles down for you, and you're like, oh, he was boasting yesterday, and then now he's begging today. Look how far, how the what is the expression? How the mighty have fallen. But the way that it's phrased, it just feels kind of petty. Like, perhaps God's gonna send a calamity down to you, and your garden will be barren. Ground will be slippery. Turning it into a barren waste is what we understand. Yeah. Barren waste is, I think, a good accurate. It's not the literal world translation. It's the real world ground that is slippery, but I think he means ground that's flat. That's not. It's barren. It doesn't produce.
أو يصبح ماؤها غورا فلن تستطيع له طلبا.
Or it will become its water sunken. So then you'll never be able to find. You'll never be able to find for it. Here it's like a request. You'll never be able to seek it out. Or the water may seek into the earth, and then you'll never be able to seek it out. Yeah, okay. So, or its water will become sunken, then you'll never be able to pull it out. And so, the river, the concept of the river, we talked about it. The river is giving life and fertility, and then the water becomes too deep down, and you can't access it, and you can't feed your plants with it, and you lose the access to this water. That's kind of the whole point. Which, again, this person, the neighbor, who's a good believer, he's like, perhaps, your spoils will go to war, and then a calamity is going to come, and then the water's going to disappear, and it just feels like a lot. And I don't know why it feels like a lot, but I think it's supposed to be like a lot. It's supposed to be serving as a lesson to not be arrogant in a way.
وأحيط بثمره فأصبح يقلب كفيه على ما أنفق فيها وهي خاوية على عروشها ويقول يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا.
And then that sort of comes true, right? So, and it was surrounded by his fruits. So he began twisting his hands over what he had spent in it, and while it collapsed upon its Urushiha trellises? What is the word trellises? I've never. That's I know what arsh means. Arsh kind of means thrones, or that which you sit and you place upon things upon. So I guess in terms of vegetation, this is considered. Okay, cool. Didn't know that, but yeah, it collapses on its trellises, everything that he set up essentially, and then he says, "Oh, I wish I had never associated with my Lord anyone." So again, after his neighbor, who's supposed to be the believer in this analogy, tells him perhaps something will come down and destroy everything, and then something comes down and destroys something, and I'm like, I'm trying to understand the wisdom in it. Is the wisdom that we have to kind of remind the arrogant of their arrogance? Is that what it's trying to tell us? Is it trying to tell us that, if you see someone saying, "Oh, I'm so big and strong," we have to tell them, "Hey, be careful of saying that I'm so big and strong because you might lose it all"? Which I thought was mean, but in a way, it is actually good advice, right? I thought he was being petty because I also know what happens. I know that he ends up losing his garden. So I was like, why are you telling this person that he's about to lose his garden? And then he loses his garden, like, ha, 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 I told you. But I don't think the point of it is, ha, 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 I told you. The point of it is to communicate to those that are arrogant. Tell them, you're being arrogant and you never know when things, when the water dries out. Yeah, so either way, in this parable, it does end up happening. And he ends up, his fruits are surrounded, totally ruined, has twisting his hand over what he spent, and it collapsed. Trellises, I think, is a very technical term. I think it kind of feels like its foundation, its structure, its setup, everything that he built kind of collapses, is the idea. And he says, I wish I'd never associated with my Lord anyone. And again, what is the association with God? It's the arrogance. It's the claiming yourself to be the cause of all things.
ولم تكن له فئة ينصرونه من دون الله وما كان منتصرا.
And then it continues the parable. It says, and it was not for him any group that can help him out without other than God. Only God can help you to get out of calamity. Let's just use that as a parable. And he was not supported. He was not. Here it says he couldn't even help himself. He just wasn't supported. He wasn't helped ever, which means that God chose not to. And that's the parable. And the parable is, don't be arrogant, because if you lose everything, and once you lose everything, it becomes obvious that you can't help yourself. And it's happened to many people, and you see it time and time again. And yeah, it's a terrible thing.
هنالك الولاية لله الحق هو خير ثوابا وخير عقبا.
And therein lies the parable. There is the protection from God that is true, that is just, that is fair. Protection comes from God. He is best in reward. What he gives us is good in reward. And he is best in the final end. and he is best in the final outcome. And this kind of ties back into anyone that tells anybody else, you're going to hell, I'm going to heaven. You're being arrogant, and you're associating yourself with God, because God is the one that chooses the final end, and God knows more than we do. So don't be arrogant in whatever you have, and don't be arrogant in thinking that you know what's going to happen at the end of time, or thinking what's going to happen tomorrow, for example. But that complicates the situation quite a lot. And then here we see the comparison between good and no, the parable continues in a different direction, but it's like a new story at the moment. But let's see.
واضرب لهم مثل الحياة الدنيا كماء إن أنزلناه من السماء فاختلط به نبات الأرض فأصبح هشيما تذروه الرياح وكان الله على كل شيء مقتدرا.
Okay. So I'm going to explain this in a different way than the translation is below. And I think it's important. But first, let's take it word by word. It says, and present to them an example, parable, fun little word, of the life, the worldly life, as like water that we have sent down from the sky, so that it mingles with it the vegetation in the earth, then it becomes dry and scattered in the wind. And God was over everything capable. So here they said, and then they soon turn into chaff scattered by the wind, and God is fully capable of doing all things. Oh, hi, Vigilanta. Welcome back. I saw you yesterday on the channel. Nice to see you. Hello, hi. So for me, what I understand from this specific example is very interesting. It's saying this worldly life is as if you're getting watered down, and you're getting things that you love, and you're getting things that you enjoy, and you're getting things that you think are fantastic and good and make you feel good. And then in the end, it doesn't really matter. Like, there's a nihilism perspective to all of this, that in the sense that at the end of it all, we all die. And no matter how great we are, we all kind of disappear, except for a few people in history. But even then, yeah, like the idea of this worldly life is like you're constantly getting water into your garden, and then somehow at the end, it is dry stalks and scattered in the wind. I don't think that I don't know why they added the word soon. So I thought I was going to disagree with this because I misread the English translation. And God is capable of doing all things, which kind of the idea here is that you think that it's being healthy and growing, but at the end, it's not all that. And the whole purpose of these stories that we're sharing is to talk about what is everlasting and what is temporary, and we see it in the next verse.
المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا.
Beautiful. I actually didn't see this. This refers to the good deeds that will benefit the hereafter, such as prayers and praise. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, and Allahu Akbar. Okay, sure, but none of those are mentioned here, so I don't Anyway, what does it say? It says, the wealth and the children are an adornment of the life, of the worldly life. And we all want wealth, and we all want children, offspring, and more numbers, and more for our people, and more for our countries, and more for ourselves, and yada, 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 chest jump. And all of this is decoration, is adornment, is part of the illusion that life is everlasting. But what's most important is al-baqiyat, which is the enduring as-salihat, the enduring good deeds. It's not the good deeds. Al-baqiyat as-salihat. Okay, so I see why they've said subhanallah, Allahu Akbar. Salihat just means those which are good. Which it can be good deeds. I'm not taking it away from. I'm not saying it's not good deeds, but I'm saying it's more than good deeds. Al-baqiyat means that which endures, that which persists. And the reason why you can kind of understand it as the good deeds, because like and the reason why they kind of talk about it over here is like praying and saying good things are creating an everlasting effect on your soul, because it ties it into Judgment Day, it ties it into this, but it's more than that. It's even if you take it as good deeds, it's more than the words that you say. Like being humble, like helping out the poor, the needy, being charitable, being kind. All these things give you a reward that is everlasting, that is so much more than what appears to be wealth, so much more than children, so much more than all the things that we think are good, but they're really just something distracting. And therein lies the whole parable of the two lessons of like, just because you have things at your disposal and just because you think that you're big and strong doesn't mean that you've got your focus on the right thing. And the focus on the right thing is to do good and focus on the everlasting life and to be humble and not be tricked by the illusion that is the world. The words "it's not real" comes to mind quite often, because what is real in the end of the day? It's the same as the concept of the Matrix, right? Just because what you see around you is real doesn't mean that there isn't some form of higher judgment, some higher process, some higher power. And I love the movie The Matrix, so we have to throw it in every couple of episodes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be me. And the enduring good deeds are better and near your Lord and a reward for, and are better something to hope for. And in the previous example, we were given the example of two men, one that cherished the things that he had and one that cherished God, even though he told his neighbor that maybe your stuff will disappear. But the point is, we don't know who's better. We have to seek God's approval. We have to do good deeds. The good deeds will have their payment and their reward in the long run. And that is why we should do them. But I also have an earthly perspective on that, right? My earthly life is better when I do the good deeds as well. Like when I give back to charity, when I am humble, when I am kind, when I am merciful. They'll give me a good afterlife, but they'll also give me a good life. But that's just because my conscience works that way. A lot of people's conscience, maybe not necessarily the same way. So you kind of tell them, hey, focus on, instead of the earthly desires, focus on not eternal salvation, but eternal goodness, and focus on what's really the point of why are we here on this earth. To do what? What is the test? What is the reason for being?
ويوم نسير الجبال وترى الأرض بارزة وحشرناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا.
The day that we will cause to move the mountains, and you will see the earth in leveled plains, and we will gather them. We will never leave behind from them anyone. Nobody will be left behind, which it's a funny topic because yesterday to today, people were thinking the rapture was going to happen, and the rapture is a wild story if you want to go Google it. But this is not talking about Judgment Day, and that mountains will move and the earth will be flattened, which is interesting that it's saying the mountains will move, considering that the earth will be flattened, because if the earth is flattened, then won't there be not mountains? But I feel like there's something to this that we're going to learn a bit later. It also, in another verse, talks about the mountains being flattened as well, or turning to dust, which is kind of interesting. And that everybody will be gathered, and nobody will be left behind. Every single person will be judged, based off of their own actions, nothing else. Your actions, your deeds will bring you to judgment.
وعرضوا على ربك صفا لقد جئتمونا كما خلقناكم أول مرة بل زعمتم أن لن نجعل لكم موعدا.
It says, and they will be presented to your Lord in rows, which I'm very curious about this word rows, because there is a chapter of the Quran called As-Saffat. And some people talk about that, the rows being the rows of angels, but we will leave this discussion of rows until we get to that chapter. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But you will be presented to God in rows. Certainly you will come to us as we created you the first time. And I struggled with this idea, and I'm like, what does it mean? And I think simply it means now we are in our first creation, and then we will be brought back as if in our first creation on Judgment Day. So, and this is also something that is brought up in the Quran time and time again, that the disbelievers will go, oh, so if we die and we're turned to bone and dust, are we going to be brought back the way that we are? I don't know why they're a Southern American when I say that. I love my Southern Americans. I'm not trying to take it away from. I actually just love that accent. But yes, the answer is yes. After you're turned to bone and dust, you will be brought back as you are this first time. And then it says, or did you claim that we will not make for you an appointment? Although you claimed, yeah, you kind of say nay. Nay is the right word. Nay, you claimed that we will never make for you this appointment. So it's saying you will come back as you've returned the first time. And then we get into the record.
ووضع الكتاب فترى المجرمين مشفقين مما فيه ويقولون يا ويلتنا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا.
And this kind of terrified me a little bit because I've done things that are wrong in my life. Anyway, and we replaced the book. Now, what is the book? We have mentioned this in the Quran, in the channel several times. The book is your book of deeds. Every single person that will be brought back will get a record of their entire lives that they will read, and they will go over every moment of their lives. I feel like until the point of, from the point of adulthood, but that's just a theory guess that I'm saying. The Quran has not said that, because it does say everything is being said, and also it says everything that's being said here. But I feel like, I don't know, would we want to look at our childhoods? Does it make sense? Either way, doesn't matter. Let's focus on what the verse is saying. The book will be presented. The book is the record of our entire lives. And then you will see the criminals fearful and going beating themselves up about what is in it. They're like, oh, crap. And they will say, oh, God, woe to us. What is in this book does not leave any small detail or no great detail, except it has enumerated. The book has every single detail of your life within it. And I wonder what type of read that will be, how fast we'll read it, how long we'll read it, how long it'll feel. Will it feel like, I feel like it'll skip the mundane stuff, but it will talk about any deed that was a choice. I think that's what it's going to cover, based off of my understanding. There's no point like, oh, you brushed your teeth. Like, but the point is, every detail, no matter how big, no matter how small, will be in the book, which is why I personally go, oh, crap. Because I've done some things that aren't so great in my life. We've all done mistakes. We've all had moments where we were selfish. We've all had moments when we were arrogant. We've all had moments when we were, I want to say fearful instead of faithful. That's not to say to be afraid is a sin in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying we've all faltered. And I don't want to have to read the record of when I done made mistakes. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. The good news is other parts of the Quran say that good deeds override bad deeds. So I'm hoping by the time I get to my judgment, I would have done enough good deeds to overcome it. It's the point where you did bad deeds, but you overcame and you kind of really pulled it together. And I hope that this is kind. But I worry about what I'm going to read. I don't want to have to. All right, let's see. Anyway. And they will find what they did presented to them. And God will not be unjust to anyone. And your God, your Lord, will never be unjust to anyone. Everyone will be given fairly. And the last verse for today is a verse that we have covered time and time again, but with a small twist this time. And it brings the wonderful discussion that we've been breaking out and we've been wondering throughout the whole book, and that people have been wondering since the Quran has been revealed for a long time. So this is one of the mysteries of the Quran, I believe. Some people believe that they know the answer, but I say that those people are arrogant. But anyway, let's carry on.
وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ أفتتخذونه وذريته أولياء من دوني وهم لكم عدو بئس للظالمين بدلا.
Alright, it's the last verse of today, and why not get a spicy verse in there? Alright, it says, "And when we said to the angels, prostrate, bow down to Adam, so they prostrated, except for Iblis. He was from Jinn, so he rebelled against his command." So several things are being said in this verse. We've always said, the Quran says multiple times again, all the angels were told to prostrate before Adam, and they all did except for Iblis, which indicates that Iblis is a part of the angels. And here it completes the statement saying that all angels were told to bow down before Adam, but Iblis refused because he was from Jinn. No, إلا إبليس كان من الجن. Yeah, Iblis was from Jinn, so he rebelled against the command of his Lord. Now, a lot of people will tell you that this means that Iblis was Jinn and not an angel, which I'm like, again, why does the Quran say time and time again, all the angels were told to bow down, but Iblis did not do it? And many other parts of the Quran, it just says that. But here it says, people say that here it's saying that he was Jinn, and the reason why he disobeyed God is because he was Jinn. And some people claim that angels cannot disobey God, even though there is only one verse in the Quran that says, over hell there is a watchful group of angels that do not disobey God. That does not mean that all angels do not disobey God. It says specifically those group of angels don't disobey God. It doesn't talk about all angels altogether. So can angels disobey God is a question mark. It may be true, it may be not. The answer is yes or no, but I don't personally know it. Was Iblis an angel or not? Now, if you take angels as being a species, and some people said a species of light, but that's not in the Quran, so let's not go. If you take angels as a species and jinn as a species, are they mutually exclusive is the question. The other possibility is that you can be both an angel and a jinn. And the concept of this is kind of like if you are a crossbreed. If my mother is black and my father is white and I'm half black, half white, then you possibly could be both. And that's how I understand it as well. We see a comment, Mr. Matar, he was a jinn amidst the angels, that's why we don't know, but he is not an angel. We know that he was a jinn. We know that for sure. The Quran is very clear that Iblis was jinn. The question that is arising for me is, was he a jinn and was he an angel? And how does that work? That works in the concept of crossbreeding. For instance, if you have two different races crossbreeding, a black woman, a black person and a white person coming together to have a child, and you have a light-skinned brown person, is that person black? Is that person brown? What race does he belong to? It could be both. The other possibility is that angel, we don't know that much about angels as well. Angel could also be a title. Angel could be a title for those that are serving in heaven, a title for God's army, instead of a race. But I do think that they are a race because the angels were created before Adam. So the most popular belief is that Iblis was not an angel and Iblis was a jinn. And that I will give you, and that is quite plausible, but it does not explain why the Quran says in many times all angels were told to bow down before Adam, and all of them bowed except for Iblis. why does the Quran say that, given that he was not an angel? You know, for me, it's a very valid point. I do agree that he was jinn. My question is, could he be a jinn and an angel? My question is, can someone elevate into the status of angels? I don't know, and I feel like I don't understand. But it's interesting that we have this phrase as well. And then it says to all you people, then you take him and his offspring as protectors from other than me, while they are to you enemies. Wretched are for the wrongdoers this exchange. What an evil alternative it is for wrongdoers to exchange. Yeah, so it does come down. And again, I told you, this whole parable that we've been reading, this whole section of the Quran that we've been reading, is about arrogance. And we saw the example of the farmer was he was arrogant threefold, and his arrogance kept going higher and higher and higher. And we obviously come back to Iblis, which is the original, the earliest story that the Quran tells us about arrogance and about like I'm bigger than God, and how he associates himself with God because he refuses to listen and he refuses to hear. And it's a very, very interesting little parable with the question that we always run into. So this was the third section of Surah Al-Kahf. In the next section, we start talking about one of my favorite stories in the Quran. We call him Al-Khidr, but his name isn't mentioned in the Quran. But it's essentially this righteous man that Moses went to learn from. And it's such a cool story. It's so exciting. It's a very interesting story and brings together a lot of moral dilemmas, and that's what I love about the Quran. It's like some of the stories are like, whoa, is this right? Is this wrong? What's the truth? There's a comment from Mr. Matar. They are totally different species, dude. Even the animals who all have blood can't just have a baby across species. Okay. Given the assumption that you're saying that angels are a species and jinn are different species and that they cannot mix, then by your definition, jinn are from fire and angels are from light. So the Quran does say jinn are from fire, but the Quran does not say angels are from light. We get angels are from light from hadith. And I looked into this very specifically because I wanted to see what exactly does the Quran say. And again, I'm not disregarding all belief, but at this point in time, my approach to the Quran and my approach to Islam and my approach to my understanding is start from the very thing that you know cannot be changed and cannot be wrong, and then expand to the hadith. I looked it up. If you can find, Mr. Matar, the phrase that says angels are from light, feel free to look it up in the Quran. I don't think it's in there. And I looked it with Captain Ahmad, if you remember that he was on the class. So if you have a reference but that they are different, then please let me know. But I still have questions of can cross species, can there be cross species? And there's been also there's a lot of philosophy and mythology about, for instance, the Nephilim that were at the time of, some people say that before the time of Noah there was a different species of kind of like pseudo-humans. Some people have stories of like demons and humans. Some people talk about angels and humans. So there are a lot of ideas and concepts and philosophies that species can crossbreed, but I don't have any evidence of it. Again, the whole purpose of what I'm doing and how I'm studying and how I'm approaching this is, what is the Quran saying? The Quran says all angels bow down except for Iblis, and that he was made of jinn. 100% agree he was made of jinn. He was a jinn. Question mark, was he an angel for me? Based off of what is being said. But yes, next chapter is coming up. Al-Khidr, the righteous man that Moses was learning from. And moral conundrums. What is an evil deed? What is a good deed? For example, the question of, if we kill baby Hitler and save a lot of people's lives, is that a good deed? We're not going to get to that stage, but we are going to give an example of it. But it's not all going to be in the next episode. It's going to be mostly in the next episode and a little bit in the episode after tomorrow. But yeah, I think we have 3 more episodes. 50 to 70, 70 to 90. Oh, so, okay. Actually, that makes a good point. Maybe I do. No, I can't do 40 verses in one day. So I think I'll just take an extra day on the weekend. I'll see. Because also on Friday, I'm going to do a Quran episode with Safa. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out the schedule. You'll see the schedule as it comes out. You know me. I follow the flow. And hopefully it'll all be good. As usual, we always end Quran with Sadaq Allahu al-Ali al-Azim. Trusted is the word of God. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll catch you guys in tomorrow's episode. Ma salami. How many people? It's one viewer on YouTube. So I will hold on for a few minutes if Mr. Matar you want to find the reference. Oh, we have 2 viewers on Twitch. Oh, look at us go. Oh, it's Vigilante and Virtually Rotten. It's the same Hangouts from yesterday. Hello. Also, Shona Wave. I like these emojis that you guys are having. Thank you guys for viewing, by the way. I appreciate you. It's so nice to view to people. I've got viewers on YouTube. I've got viewers on Twitch. We doing it. We doing the whole thing. We doing the damn deed. I appreciate it. Okay, while I wait for Mr. Matar to respond, I will start uploading the episode because these things take time. Oh, has it been an hour? Wow, it's getting to the point where I'm like, whew, I'm not even noticing the time that's passing by. It's like, wow, I love the Quran. It's a lot of fun. But this chapter also is like, she's great. And I don't mean to say she to assume gender, but like in the same sense that the Quran uses a gender for when it says he. It's not saying that God is male, but it's just the common gender that's being used. The common gender that I choose to use is female. 5 views, 3 comments, 3 likes. It's amazing how small number of views but large number of likes. I mean, this ratio has got to mean something, right? All right, great. Upload. Yeah. Strong as 10 regular men control C. Hello. 32. Quran. No, it's not made for kids, even though kids can probably benefit. No, I don't think this is made for kids. This is made for adults. Publish. All right, I will search and see where I think I heard it before. If you want to close the live, it's okay. I can paste it on the video that you will upload. Sure, no problem. But I will even do it. Angels are made of light is in which Quranic ayah? We can do just a quick search, Google search, and the AI is going to tell us, which of course we can paste. The idea that angels are made of light is not directly stated in a single Quranic ayah, but rather is a concept found in Sunnah Hadith from the Prophet Muhammad. Copy. And it's something that I also struggle with because the Prophet Muhammad also claimed that he met Jibreel as a human, correct? So it means that angels can also be made of what humans are made of? Well, why are you struggling? But let's oh, is it because I'm uploading? 1 hour and 45 minutes left. Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah, okay. I can't do all these things. My laptop can't handle it at all. I hope that you guys are still getting it. It's saying that it's dropping. But either way, yeah. Okay. You guys are still getting it. It's saying that it's dropping. Okay, I was just checking. Yeah, it's from Hadith. It's not from the Quran. But feel free to do your searches and let me know, and we will go from there. I am going to say goodbye. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube.